Welcome to Newgrounds Radio. Visit us at www.newgrounds.com.
Yo, 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 what's going on, everybody? This is Stanpai here. I'm going to be taking you guys behind the scenes. Actually, let's pop open that webcam. Hello. So yeah, we're going to be going behind the scenes on the Newgrounds Summer Festival opening animation in this session. So what I wanted to do first is give you guys a chance to once again watch that opening animation. So we're going to go ahead and play it from the top, and of course, if you ever want to watch this again, it's also available here on the channel and also on the Newgrounds website. Just go on the Stanpai Newgrounds page or any of the other collaborators involved in that production, and you should be able to find it. So good to see you all, and let's go ahead and once again quickly play the opening animation, and then we're going to break it down a little bit, see what's under the hood. So without further ado, here it is. And there you have it. So that was the opening animation for the Newgrounds Summer Festival. As Slimy Goo has pointed out in the chat, it's actually, at least at this point, I'll just keep it simple and say it's in the top 50 of all time on Newgrounds, which is absolutely crazy to me. I'm incredibly honored, to be the director, producer, whatever term you want to use for my role in this project, and I'm so proud of everybody's achievements. So we're going to talk a little bit about how this was made today. The first thing I do want to address is some of the origins of this production. Where did this come from? Why was it made? And so bear with me. We're going to take a look at some different examples from, I guess, just from animation history that kind of influenced the direction of this project. So first up, how does this happen, right? How did this come about in the first place? So when I was planning stuff for the Summerfest, I had this idea. I was like, there's this really iconic scene in history of animation, and it is the opening for another festival, Daikon 4. Now, I don't know those of you who are or are not familiar with the Daikon 4 science fiction festival in Japan, but basically they created their own original opening animation for those events, and so I highly recommend checking them out. Maybe we can watch them now. If you guys would like that, let me know in the chat and I can queue it up. Otherwise, we can just start talking about how we made this one. But really, my thought process was, this was awesome. It's been iconic ever since like the 80s or something that they've had this animation. And it was, it was the kickoff of this convention. So why not have something similar for Newgrounds? I mean, we're a very creative community. We have a lot of different talent working here at Newgrounds, able to produce something awesome. So why not leverage that talent and see if people want to make our own version of that? So that's what led to me asking, can we do this? Should we do this? And I made an announcement in the second update for the Newgrounds Summer Festival. And I said, hey, everybody, I'd like to do our own Daikon 4. Now, this definitely caught some people's attention and was enough to get them interested. Other people I had to reach out to directly based on what I'd seen of their work and say, hey, would you like to be involved in this project? And so in the end, we had 28 total people, technically 29, 27 of whom knew what they were doing. Number 28 was the guy who made the logo for the festival, who didn't know he was involved in the opening because I used the logo. And then number 29 is the music artist who made the song that we used, once again, coming from the Newgrounds audio portal. So that's something to keep in mind. If you're ever looking for great music, don't ever question the quality of what is waiting on the Newgrounds audio portal, because it's the way. Let's see. The Metal says, it had general network promo vibe that channels like Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon did back in the day for their premiere blocks. Yeah, and that was really the point. I wanted to really showcase the Newgrounds community, right? I wanted to showcase the spirit of Newgrounds, and the way to do that, in my opinion, was to get a cartoon together that featured all sorts of different art styles, but the core Newgrounds spirit. And that's what we have. So now I'm going to show you guys, I showed this during my panel, but this is actually, this is something that I did like one of the first days when I was still trying to figure out what song we would have. I finally was like, okay, I picked out a song from the audio portal. Now let's start drafting it. And what I did was I just, in one night, more or less banged out the storyboard. A very rough board. So we're going to go ahead and take a look inside of Animate, which is where I did the boards for this production. See if I can't go full screen. I wouldn't worry about that. It's fine. All right, so let's take a look at the storyboard from the top. And once again, you're going to hear some of the same production. But this was the idea I had, and you'll notice the roughs. These are super rough ideas that later became the animation. So I'm going to stop talking now and go ahead and play them. So what you're about to see is the Newgrounds Summerfest in its original incarnation, the animation before anybody made it look pretty. These are my ugly roughs. Enjoy. should probably let me hide the layer of Zach's art as well. I forgot that I sorry to interrupt the premiere here. I forgot that I had overlaid some of the different art that people turned in early. So let's go ahead and resume from here. The shark punch. So there you have it. That's what it looked like before we actually started production beyond what I had uploaded, showed you guys at the beginning, right? So that was the original incarnation of this. That was knocked out in about one night, and it was just the concepts as I listened to the music and I let the music tell me what was going to come of it. So, you may notice it's pretty ugly. But that's because it wasn't my job at that point to make it look pretty. And I think this is a very important note. When you're doing something like this, especially storyboarding for your productions, if this isn't the final product, you really should not worry so much about quality. And Rice Pirate, during his panel at the Summerfest, talked a little bit about this. He suffered from this problem. He had these really detailed, gorgeous storyboards, and you don't need that. and it ended up taking up like a ton of his time because he was focused so much on making the storyboards pretty that it was negatively impacting his overall output. So, like I said, what was my turnaround? That was literally one night. And I did, the really rough doodles for the entire song. So, that was kind of where it went. And admittedly, there were like 2 little or 3 things I added the next day. Like the Gooseman and Zone Tan scene was added, I think, on the second day after I revisited it. But for the most part, everything that you just saw was done on that first night when I was drafting what this cartoon would look like. So, if you're going to have the role of a director and kind of be calling the shots on something like this, you have to obviously know what your team needs to be making. You have to understand. I mean, look at Pico here. Look at that, and like compare. Look how hideous my drawing is right now. Here we have Zach. I mean, HPAR. Zach did the punch later, but here's HPAR's art of how it actually looked in the final, right? So this is my original concept. This was his rough of the same scene. So it translated pretty loosely into his style. But you could see that there's some cohesion here. And as someone pointed out, Future Cop LGF pointed out, yeah, I mean, the final product was very close to the original storyboards. And that was something that I really pushed for. There are only 1 or 2 exceptions to that, and I will talk about them as we get there. So, that was the first and most important thing. As I said, once I had the music, I really wanted to make sure that we had a cohesive plot line for our animators, storyboards to follow. So now we get into some of the nitty-gritty of my particular scenes that I worked on. So you'll notice that this Summerfest, it's a collaborative effort, but it's not the kind of collabs that people usually upload on Newgrounds and other places. When they'll do something like Hotel Mario Reanimated collab. And what they do is they assign parts to people, but those parts are very inconsistent with one another a lot of the time. They're focused on highlighting one artist's work, and then you transition to the next artist, and sometimes those transitions can be very jarring. They're not cohesive. They're not meant to be one into the other. And so I wanted to deviate from that. I wanted this to be a more cohesive, collaborative effort. Everybody's individual art styles would still be represented, but they would have a cohesion to them so that we could really get it all together and make it look like Newgrounds proper. So I'm going to take a look at some of the different scenes I worked in. And as you can see, I have 14 different scenes here. I made different scenes so that I could specifically focus on the parts that I was going to edit for this. So we'll jump to scene 2. This is actually the Pecan Joe Strawberry Clock hit. So if we go way back as you guys like suffer through the music, right? So in this case, I copied all of the frames from the original storyboard and pasted them here. And then we have, the animation for Strawberry Clock. So once again, let's hide these layers that are not the storyboard. And we could see my original bang, right? Now we're going to go ahead and do that again, but turn these layers back on. And so it follows the orange outline and shadow you can see here are the final product. The light blue is the original storyboard rough. So, man, I gotta like turn off the audio for a second. Let me mute that layer. So, here we have Strawberry Clock bouncing in. Got the, when he talks, that little arrow shows up, right? And then it's timed pretty evenly with the original boards. So you could kind of see the overlap here, how they relate to one another in terms of, original concept versus the final animation. And once again, I'll show those in color. Boing, boing. So yeah, again, this was just about really taking the original drafts that I had made and adapting them into something prettier. And this background is by Mr. Joey Prosser. Just for context, I did not make the background. But, that's kind of the way this works. You have to be able to take that rough and translate it into something clean and something presentable. I consider the Strawberry Clock and Pecan Joe scenes to be some of the roughest of the entire production. I did them first, and I also didn't think they needed the most intense quality because, the source material for each of them is arguably stylized. So next we'll go to scene 3. This was when I was drafting the concept for the Ina takoyaki stand. And as you guys saw, that sequence is done in 3D. So it's pretty cool. But I wanted to communicate to Crassus, who was going to handle this, exactly how I wanted the 3D parts to function. So we have Mooney do the whole, from the sky. Then we have a thumbs up. And this is how I wanted the the booth to be assembled. We're going to take a look at this now. So that's it in 2D. And again, this was just, I made this as a guide so that Crassus knew what to follow when making that 3D version, which, again, we could take a look at in the actual animation. But, this is part of that under the hood stuff. I really wanted to show you guys how I communicated ideas to the team that were working on specific parts. So the Ina one was kind of high concept, right? So this is what's going on in the background when Crassus was making it. He was able to follow this as a reference material. Now let's go to scene 4. Scene 4. The Gooseman. So you guys can see this is a mess. This is an absolute mess, right? So my entire timeline here is just a mess. So why is it a mess? All right, so we've got our green screen, which we don't need to keep in there. But basically, when I export assets from Flash to put them into Adobe Premiere, I like to give them green screen so that I can use proper chroma keying to actually use them in a way I'll show you guys later. So this is the Gooseman close-up. I wanted him to be looking at Zone Tan. Then he sees, what the hell? So this is with the green screen removed. This is what it looks like. You can see Among Us off screen there. There's actually quite a bit of Among Us. Wig all behind here. I wanted to hide it. I didn't want people to have to see that. But this is Gooseman, you know, so, and then talking, right, Zone 10. What the fuck? So, that was the concept here. And again, I mean, there are just so many layers to this, you know, it's kind of a mess because I had to do it in this way to achieve the exact appearance that I wanted. So here we have, where's this shading end in his hair? It actually ends off screen, but it doesn't naturally follow the top of his head because that's not going to be on screen, right? You don't need to. Yeah, Bingo in the chat is the one who gave us this beautiful background. You monster. Here's the background in all of its glory because there's no point in this in the actual show when you get to see it. This is it without being covered by Gooseman. So we have an angry fake back there. We've got the Amogus. Actually, Bingo, I was curious, what is this what is this stain over here? I wanted to know that. I'm not really sure. I never knew. I never had information on what the hell that was, and I didn't ask. So this is a good chance, right? Tell us, Bingo. What the hell is this thing? This black smudge. Tarboy. Okay. There you go. It was Tarboy, ladies and gentlemen. Now we know. Okay, so that's a little look at Gooseman. Why does his mouth move the way it does? Frame 1, frame 2, 3. It's animated. It's frame by frame. What? Eyebrows are actually also similarly done, but the eyebrows were done with shape tweens. What? Bingo was legitimately an MVP, like all throughout this project. But, if you guys are curious about how I animated this face, it was using, motion and shape, whatever. Same thing with here. I used tint, and there are actually multiple sunglasses layers. This is like the regular sunglasses, and then this is the glasses that are shiny. And the shiny ones were able to allow me to bring in the tentacles without it being jarring. So that's why that is done the way it is. We use the tint to make it super bright, and then it comes back to normal, and there are those tentacles there being reflected off of the glasses. So that's enough of Scene 4. Let's go to Scene 5. Salad Fingers. Another background by Bingo, first of all. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Great job on these backgrounds. Does it say error for you guys? Is there something going on in the stream, or is that just you? Let me know. Alright, cool. So now we have the Salad Fingers moment. This is another one of my scenes, as you guys are going to see. And it's very simple. So first up, I want to take like a close look at Salad Fingers. Here is his face. I referenced the original material as closely as I could. Alright, you guys all had it? Alright. I don't know. So here's the Salad Fingers. And as you can see... Yeah, Gooseman just destroyed the stream. As you can see with Salad Fingers, it's what you'd expect. We could take like a close look at his mouth if you want to see how nasty these teeth are. Yeah, that's a thing. And each of them, we're going to go inside right now. Like I handed the teeth and all the pieces, but this is what his mouth looks like up close. He's got the gum disease. And this is just what his head looks like. So this is Salad Fingers' head. And the eyes are on their own separate layer. What's the deal with the eyes? Well, you guys will notice if you go up close, the eyes actually have a boiler. They wiggle. So this is something that is not super easy to notice because of how far away it is. But for just a minor detail, the eyes do boil to give it some motion when you're watching the cartoon, which I think fits Salad Fingers pretty well. Now, the way I did this, if you guys will notice, his eyes moving up. Right, so this is the inside of the Salad Fingers scene. And the salad scene is supposed to be, he sits there for a while, and then we zoom in, and his eyes go up. So we did a tween for the eyes, which is why his eyes are on their own layer here. I tweened animation there, classic tween to bring them up. And, we now can play it back. This is what it looks like in sequence. Volleyball and stuff, then close up, and then the eyes. Now, we're going to be revisiting some of these scenes that we're talking about when we jump over to the other side. But right now, I'm just talking about what I was doing in Flash, because what's really cool about a lot of these scenes is they involved art from other people. And this is a really good example of that. Let's go to scene 6. What is on scene 6? Gooseman and Zone. Well, I've seen a lot of walrus costumes in my day. Yours is above average. So, the Gooseman and Zone scene is probably one of the more complicated ones I animated, and that's just because of how I approach things, like how I chose to do this. This is entirely puppetry for the most part. Gooseman is like 100% puppetry almost. So all of his different pieces, if we go inside of the model, you can take Gooseman apart. So like you'll notice all these different parts are the Gooseman model. So there's his forearm, there's his torso, there's his arm, there's his other arm, there's his head, his face, hair, whatever. All of it are separate pieces, and this is what they look like in tandem when you don't know. Who are these two characters? On the left, we have Gooseman from the Pleasure Island series, and on the right, we have Zontan, the mascot of animator Zone. So, yeah. Let's take a closer look at Gooseman, and I covered this during my intro to Flash panel, but in terms of total number of layers, this is everything going on inside of Gooseman at once. And if we follow it, we can get a closer look at what happens when he's talking. So here's the mouth layer. There's lip syncing involved, but there's no actual audio. So when we go across, take a look at his mouth up here. These are all of the different keyframes in which I made... Aw, man. The stream's not loading. What the hell? What happened? What the f... Okay. What the f... Yeah, there we go. Just reload it. Alright, so anyway, we'll just continue, and if you missed something, you can review the VOD. But anyway, so here's Gooseman's mouth, and every one of these is a different mouth shape. So we can kind of see he's saying something, we don't know what it is. La 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 zo. That's the only thing that he actually says that is a real word. So like this was all gibberish. I just wanted to give the impression that he was talking. But then when we get to here, I have him say, Zo. Zo. Because that is what Gooseman says in all of the Manhor industry music videos. Zo. But for the most part, that's all it is. So that's his lip syncing, but that doesn't cover the rest of him. So that was just one part, and you also may have noticed his jawline here also changes sometimes when he's speaking. Nothing fancy, just a little bit of motion to give him some more realism. But now let's look at his arm, because this was also a little piece to kind of break down. So it's all static here, but then starting from this point, we're going to see movement. And the way that does it, I use a lot of easing to make it look smooth. So, nothing crazy. But that's just what I did with Gooseman, and then of course with Zone, we're going to look at some frame by frame, a little bit of frame by frame inside of her model. Not much. So this is what it looks like in slow motion. I just, moved some pieces, did a little bit of cleaning up, little redrawing. And to make it more smooth on the overworld, I also gave her a little bit of a wiggle here, how her body leans to the side. That was just to give it some smoother appearance. But that's the Zone and Gooseman section. Background here was by Narala. Also includes another Amogus. And I believe the soda was Tentacle Grape. Yep, it was. So for those of you who wanted to know what they are drinking, it's Tentacle Grape soda. Alright, scene 7. We've already taken a look at Gooseman. It was just me doing that again. This is the Picanjo shot again to make a gif of it. The speed line section. So I had... For the Ken Star stuff, I wanted to make a proper, background for Girl Chain of Paradise, right? Because we had the ultimate pencil break. So this is actually when Kenstar does the ultimate pencil break in Girl Chan. So I just looked at it and used it as reference material to see if this was the right stuff. So you could see, like, this is my ugly one that we didn't end up using. And just to show you guys what it looks like, this is what it looks like if we did use it. It would look like this. Garbage. You know, it's really ugly. And I was like, this isn't doing it for me. So I ended up going into another scene, and I made new speed lines. So the speed lines here, these are, you know, a lot of people use After Effects to make stuff like this, but I work in Flash a lot. So for this scene, I made speed lines. How do we make the speed lines? Well, if we loop it properly, if you're looking at just the frame, these look like some very good speed lines, you know, if you're not seeing anything else. But let me zoom in again. These look pretty genuine. The reality is, it's a loop that involves having this, you know, it's basically just going from left to right, kind of like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon. And that's how I did the speed lines. This was me doing a little test for the opening part where Pico opens his eyes, just so you know what this is, but that's not what I ended up using in the final product. This is the madness dancing part, which you will see later when we go into the Cassette Girl scene. It's literally just the madness dude dancing, like, what's up? Like, yay, yeah. Nothing crazy. The background that we use as a reference here is actually from Saint Young Men. I had a lot of reference material that I was sharing with the team, and you can kind of see how I used it even when I was working directly on stuff. You know, having that in the background just to be a good point of reference, and we can see, you know, the frame rate on this guy is actually different in the final cartoon, but I exported him like this, and we'll talk more about that later. Because right now, again, we're just covering my stuff, but we're going to jump into the entire production in a little bit. And lastly, another Strawberry Clock to Picanjo part, because I just kept doing it in new sequences, new scenes. So that's everything that you guys needed to see in Flash, but we're going to jump over to where the bulk of this project was managed, and that is Premiere. So, Premiere. This is the entire project. And you guys can see on the left here, I did something stupid. I made all of the Newgrounds Summerfest stuff happen in the same project. So first off, the question is, who's this?
Time to host and participate. Hey everyone, and welcome to the Newgrounds Summer Festival 2021. This
is Tom Fulp. I didn't tell anybody that was happening, but that was something exciting. So now we're going to go through the actual material that was used in each part. Now that you guys have seen the storyboards and you've seen my stuff, we're going to break down everyone else's stuff a little bit. And, yeah. So, first up, we have the text. Now, the way I did this is everybody, if we just play it, this is everybody's handwriting from the team. That everyone who took the time to contribute hand wrote the word everything, hand wrote the word bye, and hand wrote the word everyone. And then I just put them in sequence and played them together because I really wanted to capture that everything by everyone spirit. So now we're going to take a look at how we did this opening sequence. First up, we did a mask. So that's where we're going to see how Pico's eyes are opening. We've got a nice Gaussian blur on his vision clearing. And I think one of the hardest parts about this sequence, the saddest parts, is that you really don't get a long time to see it. Because like as soon as he opens his eyes, we cut to Pico. So Loops to Loop did a terrific job on this ceiling, you know, including Tom Fulp in the poster. All of this classic Behemoth stuff. It's really nice. Then we get over here. HPAR has Pico waking up. We have HPAR, HRoth, and Loops to Loop collaborating on this part here. And as you guys saw the rough earlier, this is what it looked like in its final presentation. I asked the question, what is that book he has on his bedside? It is The Art of War. And now that I look at it, I realize, you know, The Art of War isn't that big. This is thicker than the actual Art of War as far as I'm concerned, having read that book. So, you know. Yeah, thank you, Pegasus. Having everything by everyone scribbled by everybody on the team was, I just felt like that was a really good way. Also, yeah, fucker. Nice hidden among us. Everyone. This was a good chance to give everybody their shot. But anyway, the book is The Art of War. This is one of my favorite transitions in the whole production. Pico throws his blanket, and it cuts down to the tank men. Very nice. But let's take a look at how that was actually done. So, the real way that you do this, we'll take a look inside the effects, is I have the Ultra Key. So, the original clip came out looking like this. This is with the green screen on. This is with the green screen off. This is by the Shook Kitty, a really talented animator who handled all of this sequence alone, I believe. Then we cut out here to by Skoger, the Pico running out of the bedroom sequence. We've got Darnell for president. I only have 5 years to live. A portrait of Peabot on the wall, or a photo. And Skoger was actually one of the first people I recruited onto the project. I was looking at people's submissions, and I definitely could tell had the right stuff. So this is the door opening, and this is a little different from the original rough, because this had Pico just opening directly to the bus. Something else about this, so these are the only frames that we were given, he submitted. So I actually manually, I converted this into another Chroma Key, this time a blue screen, and I animated it by having it pan to the right using keyframes up here. So we move the position. So his arm opens, and again, if we remove the blue screen, it opens to the front of the bus. At this point, this section is handled by Zach as well as Atroth, and it's really beautiful. I think this is a beautiful sequence. Look how smooth this bus is. Look at that beautifulness. And then Kennek handled this part. I assume it's pronounced Kennek, maybe Quennek. But I love this sequence. We got the bus riding down. We've got Tricky. You know what's going to happen. So in the original storyboard, you guys may have noticed the bus was coming directly at the camera. I much prefer what we ended up getting. And you'll notice that, you know, the buildings are moving. The beach is getting closer. And splat. Frame by frame gore. Oh, yes. It's happening. This is one of the instances of using a fade, which, you know, I use them hopefully sparingly, but I just didn't have a transition sometimes. Now we cut to Darnell. I really wanted Darnell to be menacing, and what I really like about this sequence is the fact that it was done in pixel. And this was done by Gallo Jolt, and already had made the lighter for another project, so this was perfect. We just kind of, or the fire, we just adapted it. Because again, when you're working with deadlines, if you can reuse assets, you should. So here we have, you know, looking at the fire. I added to make this a little bit nicer, or to make it like a little bit more ambient, whatever. There's a mask. So let's, as you can see here, I have the opacity of black. There's just a black video here between the lighter and between Darnell. And what I did with this was I created a nice little mask that created a vignette around the lighter. So it gives it that depth. If we don't have this layer, it looks a lot more flat, right? So this vignette gives it some nicer depth of color. Continuing on, this is supposed to be a menacing shot, right? But then it's kind of like funny because how it transitions. Hey! You know, Darnell was playing with fire, and then it actually lit into something. This was animated by Jake Neutron, and I really like this. I think this is really nice, you know, and it really captures, you know, the kind of the whimsy of like, this is, you know, menacing, and then suddenly it's actually not menacing at all. He lit a fire. Yay! Then we cut to another piece. This was a collaborative shot by Gallo and Kaiser Koth. And great job between the two of them. Sharkfin comes in. Sinks under the water. Uh-oh. Pan up to Junior. Kablam! It's Dad. Drawn by Zach. And I had some trouble with this shot because this water in the foreground was a separate asset, but ultimately it looked better leaving it alone. But we did that anime thing where it's like the same, you know, wham, wham, wham. So 1, 2, 3, it repeats 3 times. And then another hot, white fade to the beach. So I wanted to do some parallax stuff with this. This was by Miro Art. Admittedly, I think maybe I could have done a better job using these assets in this way, but I wanted to have, just some parallax, and it's a little weird looking in hindsight. But this is, a continuation of the previous shot. We got the Starbarians in the background, Bitey and Fernando eating some melon, and of course Dad and Junior with the shark that he just punched. And actually the shark is one of the few pieces of continuity throughout the whole cartoon. So, we've got the shark there. And again, all these different pieces are on their own separate layers. So, they're all moving in their own speed. Then we cut immediately to Sailor Jan's part here, which was the Beach Babes. And the water is in the foreground is on its own separate layer as well. But there's some interesting stuff about the Beach Babes. So first off, let's make them the scale of the actual scene. Oh, what happened here? I broke it. There we go. All right. So here's the Beach Babes hanging out, having a good old time, minding their own business. But if we look in the background, come on, man, don't let me down. You're embarrassing me in front of everybody. Oh no. Oh, it's because I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay, so this is the Beach Babes, right? This is without the water. The original art was just this single image. And what's also interesting is that there's another character, one of Jan's OCs, off to the side here. Didn't fit in the final, but I just thought it'd be nice to share that there's an extra character in the Beach Babe shot. And the Beach Babes were not originally planned. They happened after the fact, but when we take a look at how they look, this is... Yeah, maybe I should have done the pretty bubbles, but they're invisible. There we go. So you can see the water is moving on its own separate space. Dang, I need to fix that maybe. All right, anyway. Here's the Beach Babes. Now we move over to the volleyball scene. So the volleyball scene, this is what it was looking like. This is by Crummy Lion. And so originally I had like a loose draft of what this scene should look like, but I let people audition to join this project. And Crummy Lion's an example of somebody who auditioned and not only got in, but their audition was better than the original draft I had. So let's take a look. This is the original concept that Crummy Lion did for the volleyball sequence. So I just thought that was neat. This is what it looks like in the final version. So again, originally drafted with Barbarians and Dad and stuff, but the final version is much nicer. We've got all of the Castle Crashers here, the main four, playing volleyball. Swing! Oh my god, I never noticed it! The sun is angry face! Beautiful. I never noticed that before. Great job. So here we have, some Sakuga. FBI pulls down his glasses. Everybody else is giving a thumbs up. I thought this was cool. And this is something I noticed in the last stream too, but Salad Fingers is up here, a nod to the next shot. So then we cut over to Salad Fingers time. Where the heck is he? Here we go. So here we have three different parts. We've got the volleyball bouncing, as well as Salad Fingers in the background. The background itself, which is by Bingo. The volleyball is by Bingo. And I think Miro made the Castle Crasher here, chasing after the volleyball. So these are the different components. Yeah, Dilly, great job. So here we go. Bingo, great job. Bingo really stepped up to the plate a lot of times with this project and did a lot of sequences. So here's another white fade out. Again, I don't really like doing the fade outs, but sometimes they're just the right answer. So here we get to the sun. The pixel background was Kaiser Code. The sun was actually something I made, and I left it there as a placeholder. I didn't really know what to put there, and it was such an unimportant shot. Like, what matters is the next shot. So I was like, screw it. We'll leave the original sun I have here. Regular sun. We transition to Mooney. This was, of course, as you saw on the original boards, the stars at night are big and bright and beautiful. And then here we get to the first instance of 3D, which I think is super cool. When I was scouting people to work on this project, and I saw Crassus's existing body of work, Crassus had this Ina model, and I was like, yo, if you already have a model for Ina, we can repurpose that for the collab. So that's what we did. And, you know, following the original storyboards, which you guys saw, first was the, let's see if we can get the, oh, that's just Ina alone. See if I can't get the yeah, so here's the rough boards, right? Ina, thumbs up, put the hat on, go to the takoyaki stand, versus the final product, which was Ina, thumbs up, zoom in, put the hat on, takoyaki stand builds itself, just like in the original stuff I showed you guys earlier. Then we pan over. KF did the art of these two. And we have, of course, Gallo did these stands. The shark is back once again. The same shark that Dad punched in the ocean is now here. For those who don't read Japanese and can't tell, they both say same, which is shark. And the idea is that they're both shark vendors, and they're kind of like rival booth operators at the same festival. I love this entire sequence we're about to watch. This is primarily handled by Kibby Supreme. And Kibby was given this scene pretty early on. I've known Kibby from before working on this project, so that was why I was like, hey, Kib, I would really like to have you on and have you a part of the team here. So when it came down to it, I knew Kibby was the right person for the job, so she did Nene. She did Samurai Asshole, right? So we have Nene and Samurai Asshole. And in the background here, we actually have a background by Blue Banana, who I will be calling in very soon to talk to you guys a little bit about that. But coming up here, we have the illustrations of Nene and Samurai Asshole, which were done by Kibby. And then we can get into the really nitty-gritty. So as you can see, I think this background, I think this was Mr. Joey Prosser. I'm not 100%. I think he did this one. But if I'm wrong, guys, please correct me. We can kind of just see the way this sequence is done. Some Sakuga. Hey, Blue Banana. I'll be calling you soon. Yeah, this is a good little gif here. Anyways, 3 frames. 1, 2, Ike! And as you can see, the background gets blurred, right? So, speed lines and all. Samurai Asshole. Blue Banana, you made that background? Okay, got it. God, you did so much too. Great job, man. You made this background. Bingo, did you make this one? Who made the second one? Either way, we have Nene attacking. We have Samurai Asshole drawing his sword. Yeah! And we get to the luscious slicing animations. When Kibby asked me for references, I sent her Samurai Jack. And it's beautifully executed. Breaking this down here. Okay, cool. That was bingo. We've got Tarboy. We've got trains. We've got organs from Charlie Unicorn. Tails for free. And then we slide over a little bit. There she is. This shark is doomed. Gorgeous transition here. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at the frames on this. So you might notice there are some extra copies of it in the timeline here. Each one of these is what I did was I was extending the pause before the shark explodes, so it freezes there before boom. That's just a little detail I added in myself to make it time with the music a little better. But then explosion, and this is so cinematic and cool. And there's just so much happening. Look at all these steak pieces. It's flying. It's flying. And this is the last frame drawn by Kibby before the next frame, which is drawn by Seto. So this is just, I think this is really cool. This transition to the plate. Boyfriend and girlfriend are very important in this production. And I'll talk about why. So first off, I wanted to make sure that whoever did the Friday Night Funkin' part was somebody who earned it. And the reason for that is, everybody is like, Friday Night Funkin', I love that game. Friday Night Funkin'. So I wanted to make sure, because of how important Friday Night Funkin' is, that we assign somebody who actually could prove themselves that they should be the one to do it. For this, Seto was brought in by Sailor Yan, and Sailor Yan, after doing the Beach Babes, proved to me that yep, Yan is the one who's going to do boyfriend and girlfriend. So the two of them, because they were already friends, I think that really contributed to the ease between their transitions here. And this is another instance of me having to extend some frames. So you'll notice the green blobs in the background. I was looping these pieces here to make it fit the music. Then we cut to the hand. We pause on the hand because I extended this as well. And then this is where the actual animation should start. Really well drawn. And this is, again, girlfriend and boyfriend close-up, illustrated by Sailor Jan. I use the same exact technique that I used with the beach sequence. And Blue, I'm going to be calling you in just a moment. This is where Shook Kitty stepped up and did some really gorgeous work. Made these fireworks in Blender. Beautiful. And this is also the Shook Kitty. I believe Atroth may have done some in-between cleaning up and stuff like that. It's really pretty. And again, you guys saw the original draft that I did in Animate was this ugly... Oh, I accidentally reopened it. I forgot that I had closed it. You know, look how pretty this is compared... Oh, this is actually a rough. This is cool to show, too. This is a placeholder. And then before this, look at my look at my ugly drawing. Look at this here. Reflection. Steve twirl a firework in his hand. Rockets are phallic, huh? This is what Shook Kitty had to work with. Versus the final product, which was gorgeous. Look at that twirl. So I'll tell you exactly why I wanted the Shook Kitty on this project. Previously, Kitty did a Friday Night Funkin' cartoon where Pico is eating a pickle, and the pickle gets flipped into the air. And I was like, the way that pickle was animated, I want this firework. So I knew that the Shook Kitty was the one to go. Absolutely beautiful. Here we have by our friend Have, or Halve, as he insists. Because, I don't know, man, Portuguese. It's not Have, it's Halve. Okay, it's Halve. Halve did this illustration, which, again, you know, it was a little funny to kind of communicate this, because this is the, this is my... This is my original draft for what this looks like. It was just the word Summer Festival and some booths. And, you know, Hal was like, what do I draw? I was like, you know, draw like everything. I wanted to leave this very open-ended. This is the translation between that ugly-ass rough and the final. Look at this. Gorgeous. Beautiful glow-up. And then we get to the man of the hour, Blue Banana. It's time for your phone call. I'm calling in Blue Banana. Yo, what's up, buddy?
Hello?
You're here. You're on the air, bud.
Hello, everyone.
So here we have Blue Banana, who did this gorgeous illustration of P-Bot and Mind Chamber, as well as the other amazing pieces in the background. And I'd like you to talk a little bit about that in a moment, but I do want to say the reason that I originally wanted you on the project and wanted you doing this scene was because in your Newgrounds portfolio, you had art that you had done of the Iron Giant. And I thought, you know, that's a really obvious transition to doing these robots. So you really went above and beyond, man.
Actually, one of those the first illustration I made for the Iron Giant was actually just it was just a study of a model of the Iron Giant. That the background was a secondary, and I just thought, hey, let's call that a finished illustration.
Right on. Yeah, and again, because of how you drew the Iron Giant specifically, that was why I needed you to make the robots. You know, you showed that you knew how to draw them well. And these characters are so important, I felt like they needed to be assigned to somebody who had the discipline to make it right. So again, those who are wondering, Blue Banana, the one who did this drawing that you're seeing on screen of P-Bot and Mind Chamber, as well as all the pieces in the background, that's who's in the call right now. Yeah, there you go in the chat. Yeah.
Hello.
So you were the one who designed the yukata for girlfriend and boyfriend, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so that was really beautifully done. I do want to draw some attention to all the characters in the background. Consistency, right? Continuity with the Ina over here. And we've got girlfriend sitting on a trash can very appropriately. Very good stuff, my friend.
I want also this is a thing that I didn't notice after I drew it, but the way that boyfriend and girlfriend is positioned along with uh tangy mustard. I think that's his name. It's like reminiscent of the Friday Night Funkin' background.
I thought that you did that on purpose.
That was like an after. I think that was an afterthought. I think the only thing that was intentional was putting girlfriend on the trash can.
That's so funny, dude. And yeah, like when I noticed it initially, I was like, oh, this looks like another, this is like week 50. I don't know. We're running out of people to fight. Who are we going to fight now? Okay, we'll fight them at the summer festival. Man, I hope, and this is a big hope, I hope that they put a nod to this in the final game. That would be amazing.
I need to confess that I still haven't played Friday Night Funkin'.
Friday Night Funkin'. Yeah.
I know Ina. I watched some of her shorts, and I watched a pilot episode of Sublo and Tangy Mustard, and I watched I watched one of the episodes for Satina and Leo and Satan just to make sure I'm familiar with them, but I never played FNF. I'm just lazy.
That's pretty funny. Well, have you ever played Dance Dance Revolution?
Yes.
Have you ever played Beat Mania?
No, but not actually. I don't think I didn't play Dance Revolution. I played a knockoff that we bought on the you know what QVC is?
Yeah.
That channel.
Yeah. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
That's funny. So as you guys can see, as I scrub through this, we did some parallax here as well. Originally, it was one single illustration, but I wanted to add some parallax to give it a little bit more depth and movement since it's supposed to be an animation. But is there anything else you'd like to talk about as somebody who worked on this project from start to finish, either about this scene or any of the other scenes, or just about the experience of working on the project?
Well, I wanted to talk about the stand that's behind Peabot. Originally that stand was just a placeholder stand, so much to the point that if you were to remove Peabot from the illustration, the original katakana was just placeholder. But when I went back to revise on it to for some details, I made an actual stand. So it's now a Kakarage stand.
Kakarage, that's really funny. That's hilarious.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean just like the previous illustration that Halv did, the stream broke. Just like the previous illustration that Halv did, for the previous shot, the thumbnail that I've been given for my shot is pretty open-ended. Like you just gave me a shot of a Peabot and Mine Chamber. Just go with that. So so I just thought, since with the way they were positioned, I interpreted it as some sort of a standoff, like something giant robots, kaiju, that type of thing. So that was why I made that's why I made the background stands and the characters relatively small. Thanks to perspective and stuff, just to give the limelight to Peabot and Mine Chamber.
Word. Well, what you ended up doing here, as I've said before, this is one of my favorite scenes in the entire production. It's really beautiful. And I've told you that time and again. You finished it faster than you said you would. And I love also the dango as well as the taiyaki. I think that you put some love into this, you really can tell.
Mm. Oh yeah, right. I should also mention that the leftmost stand where Leon's Satan. It's whole name of that stand is Dango.
Yeah, I should be able to bring it over a little more.
Oh no. I mean the whole illustration. The illustration is cut off on that in that way. So it's it's not it's intentionally cut off.
Oh, okay. Got it. I'm gonna see like how much yeah. In the end, it fit pretty closely to the original specifications. I only zoomed in a little bit to make sure we could do the parallax. Pegasus TV, OG Newgroundsers, suck at Friday Night Funkin'. You're right. You caught us. Cool. Well, any other notes before I move along, or anything else you want to talk about related to the production?
Um, not really. I did contribute the background to the next shot and closing shot, but I'll let you handle that.
Well, I mean, I'd love to have you talk about that actually. I just before we move along. So let's go ahead and cut over to that next shot. So this was another one of those fade outs. And as I said before, 3 people worked on this scene. So you handled the background. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that as well?
So for the most part, handling the backgrounds for the other shots is much easier because it's only the background. I don't have to worry about characters and stuff. So for stuff like this, where it's like a background illustration or like a single character, I can belt it out in a few hours.
Right on.
I didn't for this specific background. I didn't put in any characters because I was so that in the case that you would add more Madness characters because I think you mentioned that in, like during production.
Right. Yeah. I ended up not doing so, but it was always a consideration that I might add in addition to this one. There might be
Yeah.
2 or 3. Yes.
Yeah, so that's why it's pretty vacant aside from the two foreground characters.
Right. So yeah, that's something that ultimately time restraints and just deciding when's enough is enough. That's kind of like why it ended up with just the one. And I mentioned before, but if you guys remember when I was showing it during Flash, he moved at a different speed. That's because I actually adjusted the frame rate of this dancing fellow. So you'll notice it's 87% speed. He's moving at a different speed to match the rhythm of the song. Same thing with Cassette Girl. There's actually her loop is extended a little bit, so that's where this came into play. But Skoger handled Cassette Girl. Cassette Girl was another character because of like her popularity with Friday Night Funkin' and everything else in consideration. I wanted to make sure that whoever got the part really auditioned for it and showed me like what I envisioned or as close to my vision for it. And so William Skoger really killed it on that front, and it was pretty baller. So yeah. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and move on to the Kenstar stuff. Blue, I'm gonna drop you, but thanks again for chiming in. Please, where can people follow you on Newgrounds?
Um, it's it's a blue banana, all one word. ITSA blue banana.
There you go. So everyone, be sure to follow It's a Blue Banana on Newgrounds for more of this gorgeous, luscious, delicious art. Cool. Thanks for coming in, buddy. Absolutely. Alrighty. So moving on, we're going to jump into the Girl Chain in Paradise sequence. This is one of my favorite ideas. You guys saw in the original draft, we had Kenstar versus Yusuke. They're arm wrestling. Alright, so they're arm wrestling for a little while. Then Kenstar is supposed to... he senses it. Oh! The pencil! He breaks the pencil. So, that's the original idea. But we had I Can't See Help as the primary mover of this shot. I asked him to see his animation reel, and he had some various stuff. He had a Persona thing on Newgrounds, but he also in his reel had some Dragon Ball Z stuff. And I realized that there was a lot of potential with his art style to really capture Girl Chan's style. Bingo was involved in this scene as well. Bingo is always a super reliable hand in these projects. But you'll notice the down here are the Ken Star frames. I repeated those as well to have his arm just consistently wiggling with Yusuke. And I don't even think Yusuke has a hand under there. Yeah, there the hand appears. So, you know, he's wiggling. Ugh. He hits Yusuke in the face, as you can see. Ugh, ugh, ugh. And behind Ken Star, you can see we've got Foamy the Squirrel. We've also got Kerrigan from Legendary Frog Cartoons. There's a guy with a pencil. Uh-oh. Huh? Me? Ultimate! A pencil! A break! And you guys remember I was showing you those speed lines earlier. There they are. I made some specific speed lines for this scene. I made multiple variations. I ended up using ones that didn't look like crap. Then we've already been through the Gooseman and Zone 10 sequence. I gotta make that. There we go. This is broken up the way it was. Remember before I mentioned how I wanted Gooseman to be... He's got a green screen, right? It's actually a fuchsia screen because the other colors were overlapping too much. So this is his Chroma Key. And they're all moving on one layer, you know? Just, yeah, you know, something, whatever. What the fuck? So, that's, you guys already saw the breakdown of that shot. And now we can take a look at the flashing through everyone's art. Love this drawing. You guys have already seen the strawberry clock. Pwned. So, a note about Picanjo's design. This is the butt chamber design. I did not, at the time, know how much Picanjo did not like butt chamber's design. So, I drew, like I said, I did the scene first. Then the resurrection happened, and I found out he hates this design. So, I left the art as is because, you know, time. Prestige Jojo, your art frickin' rocks. Please, 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 I'm asking you in advance, let me be the one to scout you on Newgrounds. Because if you haven't already, I already, like, your art, I mean, I literally scouted it for this festival, but, like, let me be your art scout, homie. Your art is gorgeous. I love what you make. Continuing from here, and everyone be sure to follow Prestige Jojo, just like it's spelled in the chat there. So the background here by Mr. Joey Prosser for both of these. Some 2 frames for Strawberry Clock. Then we've got more stuff by HPAR. So we ran into a little kerfuffle. The way this project was coordinated, I had a spreadsheet, and the spreadsheet was color coordinated. If somebody was, we had a column that was labeled like part is assigned to this person, and I assigned it to HPAR. HPAR did not start working on it, so I didn't change it to the color yellow, which is the color that indicates it's being worked on. HPAR did not realize that it was formally assigned to him because he was waiting for it to turn yellow. So I finally go, hey, what's the progress on this scene? And he goes, I was unaware that it was formally assigned to me. So this was, you know, a normal misunderstanding. But this led to him kind of getting a little bit behind, and he ended up turning this in on the last day. But Loops to Loops did the background, and as I mentioned before, in the original draft, I actually intended for Captain to be the one in the tank, but what he did with Steve instead, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Loops. Yo, and great job on these backgrounds, Loops. So here we have, you know, again, following it, Strawberry Clock flies into the tank barrel. Oh, Keo, you're killing me, bro. Why would you bring me down like that? Anyway. Boom. Yeah, so you may fire when ready. Kablam. And this is just, I just think this is really nice. This is some really nice framework. just as pretty as the opening stuff with Pico. Pelvic thrust, there's that, oh yeah, cock joke. Strawberry clock goes flying. And we get a nice transition from HPAR's art to Devoid Gazer's art. You can see the background there. We could see the beaches, the skies, and the look at the beautiful hair for the leaves there. I think H. Roth worked on this as well. And now we have the background. This gorgeous, gorgeous night sky. Hominid inbound. Oh, no. Death. But it's just more fireworks, because that's how it works. So this is something that most people don't actually get to know about, but there's more to the Pico smile. I cut it short because I like how it looks like this. It's supposed to stop here, right? But the actual animation is a little longer. He actually has a toothy grin. So there you have it. That's our kind of our under the hood. And you guys have the chance to look at all of the moving parts. I mean, we've got all these different assets and pieces in each section of the cartoon. Oh yeah, I didn't talk too much about the speed. Bingo did the pencil here. I did the speed lines. I forgot to mention that. Bingo did a great job with this pencil. And yeah, I mean, that's the project. That's the Newgrounds Summer Festival opening animation. If you guys have any questions about the production process, this is the time to ask. I'm here to answer them. Smirk. So yeah, that's the Newgrounds Summerfest. Let me see if I can pull up the spreadsheet as well. Okay, so the green layer, that's a great question. The way video works when you're exporting different pieces, so we have Gooseman here, right? Let's go to the Gooseman part. Or actually, this is even better. We'll just go... Oh, here's the original. So here we have, yeah, this is where Pico is lifting up the blanket, right? So in order to make these two scenes overlay with each other, we needed the area behind the blanket to be transparent. The most efficient way to do that is to use a Chroma Key. What that does is it removes whatever's in the background from the shot entirely. So it just completely removes it. And yeah. If you leave it there, then the problem is, you know, you're never going to get that transparency. So if I was to leave it there, it would look like this. That's not clean. So by adding this green chroma key, we're able to make the scene transition into the next scene. It's a very traditionally used strategy. You could see this in all sorts of production work. It just allows you to seamlessly put things on top of each other. And that's why we do that. So why aren't they... You know, it's easier to do this than it is to have to try to like animate the Tankmen stuff underneath. Because this is what the Tankmen scene looks like from the start. But if you have the blanket, that's how it works together. Leo 8 asks, was there any point in which you decided that something deviated too much from the rough? So the answer is yes, but sometimes for the right reasons. So one of the ones that was a good example was the volleyball game was actually better in the proposed version by Crummy Lion without having my storyboards. So that was a deviation, and we went back to it. We used that instead of my version. I'm trying to remember other instances where I said like a hard no, because I know there were times when I did, but I mean, that's my one piece of advice. If you're running a project like this, don't be afraid to say no if it doesn't match with the vision for the project. Like, I knew how I wanted this to look, and I would be willing to change it if somebody showed me something amazing, but not necessarily every time. So that was, being able to hold it down because you have a specific vision, you want to preserve. But yeah, did I add the Chroma Key before moving it into Premiere? No, I use I use the color, like the green background is on the clip. So like that video file, if you look at it by itself, it has the green background. You add the Chroma Key after you put it into Premiere under the Effects tab. You can also do that in After Effects, but I work in Premiere mostly. How do you stay organized with the whole team while working on this project? A big part of it is paying very close attention and asking for a lot of updates. What I did was I made sure that people showed me that they could do it before they were assigned a part. So I would say, okay, before you can do this part, give me one frame of how it's going to look. Okay, I approve. Continue. Or if it was a little more intense than that, I would say, okay, give me a rough animatic of how it's going to work. And it's what it is. I mean, you just got to make sure that you have the right people with the right assignments. I knew certain people had very good ideas and skills to be able to adapt what I was asking for. But the most important thing was just making sure to communicate with the team, being like, yo, how you doing? What's the latest you guys have been working on? Let me see your updates. Now, to give you guys a really good example, I'm going to show you the spreadsheet. This is the Intro Animation NGSF spreadsheet, and you'll notice that it is color coordinated based on what parts are done and what parts are not. Now, this was the finale, so I never actually, because this was the last thing, I never bothered to actually mark it off as complete. But what I did was I would ask people like, okay, who wants to work on this part? And they could say, I want to work on this part. And then from there, I would see who volunteered for a part. I would pick out who I think matched my expectations the most. And then we'd go from there. I'd add any notes if we needed any. As the parts were done, we had timestamps to indicate how long each section was supposed to be. And then if it was done, I would mark it off as done and we'd move on to the next. So that was how I organized this project. Was it mandatory for everyone to work on a specific program? Nope, not at all. As long as they could give me the video file or the images or the assets, they could do whatever format and font and whatever they wanted. As long as it does the job, I don't care what they animated in. Like I mentioned, I know Kitty did the stuff in Blender. I worked in Animate and Premiere. I know people were working in all sorts of software. Clip Studio Paint probably for some of the PNGs. So a little of everything. But as long as you can export the process, what you need, like as long as you can export it and give me what I need, we're good. I don't care how you made it, as long as I can have the finished piece. Any other questions? And I think I'll be wrapping up in just a moment, since I think we're at the end of our line of questions. But I will give you guys just a few more moments to ask any further questions. Was I worried about someone not finishing in time? The only person that I ever reached that point, like, definitively, was HPAR at the end, because it was the night before. It was the 23rd. The deadline was the 24th. And I said, yo, HPAR, can I get an update on how close you are to the finish line? And I got no answer. And then I got no answer again. And the day goes by, and I'm like, yo, loops to loop, have you heard from HPAR? Because they were working closely together. That was the most scary moment, but I made sure to manage our time very efficiently so that we didn't have to worry. I wanted very much to avoid any kind of crunch because that would hurt the quality. Let's see. Where did you initially advertise the project? First time I advertised it was on the Newgrounds Summerfest Update number 2 blog. I put it on the Collaborator on Newgrounds. I also put it on the... I may have put it on the forums, but no, I think I just put it on Collaborator and on the Update. So you had to see it in one of those two places. And if you did, you signed up. And again, that I should mention that I didn't know for sure whether or not I would actually make this with anybody, because I didn't know if we had enough people. But in the end, enough people stepped up to the plate that I was like, you know what? Yeah, we can do this. We are going to do this. And that's how it came to be. Loops, which monster cereal do you think could win in the deathmatch against each other? Do you mean like between Frankenberry, Booberry, and Count Chocula? I think I'll go with Frankenberry. While Booberry is a ghost, I mean, whatever, he's an apparition. Frankenberry, on the other hand, is modeled after the Frankenstein monster. Count Chocula is, of course, a vampire. They are apex predators. But Frankenstein's monster is like the modern Prometheus, right? That's the name of like the title in the original novel. It's just what a creature. What a powerful creature, beyond any mortal man, with the ability to survive anything. So I say Frankenberry. Cool. Well, thank you all for tuning in for this behind-the-scenes look at the Newgrounds Summerfest opening animation. I hope you all had a great time. Once again, this is Stanpai. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you for being a part of the Newgrounds Summer Festival. Thank you for being here, for asking your questions, and for having interest. I also want to thank everybody for making this cartoon one of the top 50 of all time on Newgrounds. That is an amazing honor. I never in my wildest dreams imagined making anything that would be there. And of course, that happened because I relied on not just myself, but my comrades, right? My friends, my fellow animators, my collaborators. We did this together. This really was like, as much as I directed it and led it and all that stuff, nah. The real deal is that this was a team effort, and the team crossed the finish line with glory. Nobody knew about this. Nobody on the team except for us. Nobody involved in the festival knew there was a cartoon. Tom didn't know there was a cartoon. Nobody knew there was a cartoon. It was a total secret. Like my roommate, maybe. That was the only person other than this inside circle. So, yeah. I mean, it was just subarashi. What a wonderful world. Anyway, you guys rock. Thank you so much. And we'll be in touch. Everything by everyone. That's exactly right. And that was the spirit of what I wanted to carry through this cartoon. And, that's what it's about. Dude, Crassus, thank you. Thank you and everybody else who worked on the project. You guys are truly, maybe the Newgrounds Summer Festival was the cartoons we made along the way. In any event, thank all for tuning in. And this is Stanpai signing off. I'll see you guys over on the next Newgrounds Summerfest related event. And if you're still on the server, see you on the server. Love ya. Bye.